One genre I always felt had a really good track record with video game openings is JRPGs. And one series that always does a good job with it is Final Fantasy. From the beautiful and ambitious cutscene from 6, 9's great world building and it being the only Final Fantasy game with Vivi, the best character, 10's introduction to Titus's arc and the absolute fury that follows afterwards, and being stranded on the side of the road with the Chocobros in 15. That's just from the Final Fantasy games I've finished, and 9. I'm sorry Vivi, I'll finish your game someday. The game I think does it the best is the one I skipped over. Final Fantasy VII has such an explosive opening, and the remake does a chef's kiss job of bringing it to modern hardware. So we'll be focusing on that instead of the original. Mostly because I haven't played the original. On that note, I'm only going to look at stuff that's presented in the remake. If there's any post-Midgar stuff that's set up here, I won't talk about it. Who knows what they're going to end up changing, so I just want to look at stuff as it's presented in this game. Before we even start the game, we're greeted to the best rendition of the Prelude. This version does a perfect job of capturing the calm beauty of the song before letting it all out, like the song itself is excited that this remake exists. And then we get a flawless recreation of the original's menu, reset up the file, and start her up. The game opens with a bird flying through a desert until it reaches our setting. We get a view of the daily life in Midgar, but the music is unsettling. It's a nice introduction to the world. So far it seems kinda like ours, but way more steampunk. After all of that, we see dead plants as this city is literally killing the planet, already hinting at one of the main themes of the game. A Mako reactor goes off and transitions us to a familiar face. She's scared by something and then runs off. As she runs, she drops some flowers and someone steps on it to the tune of the song. Once again, shitting on nature. The song starts to build up as we pan out. What was once a flex of the PS1's hardware is now a showcase for how far we've come. It climaxes and gives us the best title drop in video game history. Hit me with it. As someone with no connection to the original game, literal chills. I shit you not, I am getting chills right now. Thinking about it, got 'em when I recorded the footage.
Can confirm.
When I wrote the script.
Can confirm.
And, most likely, when I edit this part.
It's so good, dude.
The music's timing with the meteor crashing in and revealing the title. I fucking love it, man. No game has done a better job of getting me in the mood to play it like FFVII has, and it's been like 5 minutes. We zoom in on where the opening of this game will take place, jump cutting between the zoom and a train. 2 guards get taken out, then we meet the main cast for this chapter. Then we get one of the most iconic character introductions in video game history, recreated in full 4K glory, to the time of the music too. This game is so fucking good, man. We run through taking out some more guards, while I try to remember the controls and to turn on subtitles. After catching up with the rest of the crew, we get some brief insight on what's happening. It's some kind of job that's apparently crazy. Cloud is here for the money, but the others are here because they believe in something. Nerds. Iconic box art recreated. Alright, moving on. This big dude Barrett is weirdly aggro towards Cloud having a PTSD attack, and we learned that he's here because of his previous soldier experience. It's obvious that the others are overall more trusting than Barrett. We get some more info about Cloud. He's clearly carrying a lot of emotional baggage, as the mention of his past gives him flashbacks. We learned that we're working for a group called Avalanche, who might be domestic terrorists? Barrett explains what we're doing here and one of the main themes of the game. Environmentalism. Also, eco-terrorism. Mako equals every finite natural resource. Got it. Barrett is clearly passionate about the environment, and Cloud is just here for the guild.
Get help.
Say that again!
I'm sorry, big gun-handed guy, please don't hurt me.
I really like this scene because it's the best part to introduce everything that it does. What really makes it for me is Jesse's reaction to Barrett's rant. It's like a girl who just brought her first boyfriend home, and her dad, completely unprompted, went on a huge political rant. Oh my god, he's doing this again. I am so sorry. He's just an old man yelling at a Cloud in this intro. After that outburst, we get control of Barret because Cloud can't reach those guys. After fighting a stronger enemy, we learn how socially inept Cloud is.
First. Huh? Soldier first class. Doesn't go into the 20s.
The hell you talking about? I mean your age, not your goddamn rank.
Dude clearly has issues. Get therapy, dude. Don't do f***ing terrorism. And we finally learn the exact reason why we're here. We're blowing up this reactor that's siphoning Mako from the planet. Something Barret has been thinking about for a long time. When I first played this game, I was not expecting to take control of environmental terrorists. Barret attempts to radicalize Cloud, and we get a hint towards someone who's about to re-enter Cloud's life as a consequence of this mission. A goddamn robot scorpion shows up. Barret thinks it's Cloud's fault as he has zero trust towards him, and we fight it and kill it. The scorpion goes sicko mode and fucks up the reactor. The bomb arms and the crew makes their escape. It explodes and doesn't do a lot of damage. Call the guy in. He'll have that fixed in a week. I'll charge you an arm and a leg though. Instead of just calling in a guy to fix it, the people who own this reactor blow it the fuck up for currently unknown reasons. Barret is worried, but Cloud is calm as he has more experience almost dying from his soldier days. The facility blows up, cutting out power and causing mass damage to the general area. And time. How long did that take? Including the bit of chapter 2 I had to wait through before I could save, 44 minutes and 42 seconds. Whenever I play through openings for this series, I try to talk to everyone in them and get all of the items. Just truly do everything in them. Kingdom Hearts took me 2.5 hours. Skyward Sword took me 2 hours and 52 minutes in the original, and 35 minutes in HD while skipping everything. I bring up those times because I think this opening is the perfect showcase for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it does it in under an hour. The gameplay is great, and I like how it teaches you how to play it. The writing is great because it doesn't come out and say everything. It just sprinkles it in there. Which is why when I summarize it without going into too much detail, it just feels like I'm jumping forward. It's truly quick talk, kill guy, quick talk, kill robot. And the music is just perfect. All of that in 45 minutes too. It is quick and it is precise. Legit, if you want to play this game, just stop watching this video right now and go download the demo. It's literally this whole chapter. If you enjoy the demo, you'll love the full release. Going on, I will be saying some spoilers, so I recommend leaving now. For those of you who are staying, let's look at the first aspect of this opening, the gameplay. I'm not going to go into a full in-depth analysis about this game's combat system because it's not exclusive to the opening. What I will say is that it's very fun and is my favorite action RPG combat. What I do want to talk about is how the game teaches you to play. It does throw text at you to read. I'm sorry, Ego Raptor, but it is pretty smooth. It lets you get your bearings with what it wants to teach you before moving on. Okay, cool. You know how to hit guys? Here's how ATB and abilities work. Go try it out. And for out of combat stuff, it just tells you how to do it when you encounter it. As fights go on, it throws different enemies at you. Alongside some guards, you fight a weird dog thing. I don't know. That'll rush you down, which is used for the switching targets tutorial, which is the best fight to do it on. The largest group fight tells you about switching modes, as out of all of the fights so far, it is the most useful here. But it's also filled with enemies with ranged weapons that Cloud can't block while in Punisher mode. Basic rundown of Punisher mode, you do increase damage, and your block just becomes a counter to physical attacks. I think it's smart to put that here instead of the fight with the dog. That fight would be useful to teach you the upside of it, but it can't teach you the downside as easily because the dog has no projectile weapons. That's why I think it's perfect that they use this group of enemies to introduce it with. Especially because damage can just be unavoidable in this game too. You need to learn the downside of Punisher mode. The best part is that you can use all of those abilities before the game teaches you about them. You want to use Punisher against the dogs? You can't. I always hate it in games when they lock abilities behind tutorials, and it always puts a smile on my face seeing a game that lets you experiment and figure out stuff on your own. It would be nice if the game was able to register that you understand how like Punisher mode works and it didn't give you the tutorial for it later on. How would the game know that you understand that the active party member gets ATB faster than the other ones just because you used Braver before it told you how to? After you've learned everything Cloud can do, the game throws enemies at you that he can't hit. so it gives you Barret. From here, it only tells you how his basic attack works and what his triangle move does. Right after killing those 3, it gives you 2 ground-based enemies, so you can learn how to fight them as Barret, and the switching player tutorial, so you can fight them as Cloud. It gives you 1 tutorial about environmental damage, but it doesn't do it by throwing a text box at you. It just has Jesse say it in a cutscene, which is always nice. And then you get the last tutorial the game will give you before starting a fight. How weaknesses and staggering works. You can successfully stagger guys before this point, but they're basically dead by the time it happens. That and exploiting weaknesses are the most helpful against this dude. The other tutorials you get only show up when the thing they're about happens, like limit break or enemies capturing allies. For that last one, I normally get that tutorial on the first boss, but the video for it in the tutorial is for the previous enemy. And oh boy, I love this boss. Continuing with the theme of tutorials, a lot of them in this fight are said by characters, so it doesn't break up the pace of the action. It also happens with the barrier in this fight, so it shows you that there are smaller things on enemies that you can destroy, which is all very nice. But f***ing look at this boss fight. I've seen final bosses with less spectacle, less evolution in the fight than this game's first boss. This has 4 phases, all of which have a different gimmick to it. The first is pretty standard. The second pulls up a barrier and you have to destroy a smaller thing on it to take it down. The third has a tail laser you have to hide from. And the fourth has an auto repair unit and 2 legs you have to take down. It's just a very good boss fight. I'm going to go into the music in a later part, but I'm talking about this boss now, and I want to talk about its theme. The song changes with each phase. This version of Fight On is exclusive to this boss. It's so satisfying having the music evolve and break down alongside of the boss. This game has spoiled me when it comes to music because there's so many different versions of the original's basic battle and boss theme. There's more versions of Let the Battle Begin than there are battle songs in most games. Ignoring all of that game design and music stuff I like, again, just look at this fight. This is wild for a boss, let alone a first one. I remember during E3 2019 when they showed off this section, I was shocked when my buddy told me that this was from the first boss. When I first played that demo, I was hooked. This game is just so fun. But it wasn't just the gameplay that hooked me. It was also the writing. I think the best thing about this opening's writing is how things are introduced and teased. The only time someone goes, oh, their name is blank, is with Cloud, and it's hidden behind Jesse forgetting his name. She just met him today. It makes sense. Cloud comes across as a little emotionally stunted, which is an understatement. Dude should go to therapy instead of doing terrorism. His arc in this game is working on those issues. Protagonist arc setup? Check. Barret has a hard exterior and is very passionate about the planet. A part of Barret's arc is being less aggro towards Cloud, so having him be so rough in this intro is a good way to set that up. Our 2 party members already have their arcs introduced. Tiggs is a weirdo, Wedge is a goof, and Jessie is a walking HR violation. You get to know Jessie the most out of these 3, and that's just because she's in it the longest. The character introductions are good. Editing Matt here because I did not like the takes I got from this line. The reason why I think this opening does a good job introducing the characters is because you get to know their personalities and their arcs with Barret and Cloud. It gives you all of the info required for a character introduction without breaking pace. But how does it introduce the story? No one flat out says what we're doing here because someone's saying, we hired you to help blow up this Shinra power plant in Midgar because it's destroying the planet and we are eco-terrorists who don't want the planet to die. Having all of that in one line would be very clunky, especially during the mission. To avoid that, the game gives us information in small chunks over the course of the bombing mission, but it still doesn't paint the full picture. Sorry, what's his name?
Cloud Strife.
Right.
Why did they hire him specifically? Because of some girl named Tifa and his soldier experience. Why are you guys doing this? Oh, so you believe in saving the environment. Alright, so we're here to save the planet, and Cloud is only really in it for the money, or at the very least he's making it seem like he is. And we might be extremists because Command isn't talking to us, which We're in the middle of a terrorism. The game will give more detailed and concrete answers to these questions later on, but now isn't the place. A lesser script would have had more than a Cloud PTSD trip when it brings up Tifa. It would have been like, oh, she's a childhood friend, and I haven't seen her since her cowgirl phase? I don't know all of Cloud's backstory, so get off my back, Mom. Again, a lesser script would have had like this scene in this elevator like 5 different times. There is one thing I really disagree with, and I can't ignore it. After we escape, the bomb goes off and we see that the damage is mild. Shinra proceeds to outdo our environmental terrorism and blows up the whole plant. As we see in Chapter 2, it absolutely f***s up the district. I think this is bad because it reveals Shinra's hand way too early. When characters talk about the bombing that Avalanche did, the player is like, okay, cool, that literally wasn't us. We did this, not that. At the start of Chapter 2, Biggs and Jesse are trying to justify what just happened. All of the damage caused by this mission is a huge part of Jesse's story in this game. Girl, your bomb didn't do all of that. And she brings it up a lot throughout the game, and it's just like, no, you didn't. You're fine. Same thing when you're in Chapter 2 and you're looking at all of the destruction. I didn't do this. It was Shinra. But the characters don't know that. This is just bad dramatic irony. We see the evil guys be evil throughout the whole game. You don't have to show us now. As a result, them dropping the plate also feels less shocking, as we've already seen how far they're willing to go. It's such a simple fix too, which makes it so tilting. Watch. Bam! Brought this intro from a 10 out of 10 to a 10.5 out of 10. You're welcome. But let's end this section on a high note and bring it back to Aerith quickly. I like having her look at the Mako during the CG cutscene because she's an ancient and has a special connection with the planet, which was in the original, but she sits there for longer. From that, we get our first instance of the Whispers showing up in the game. We can't see them yet because we haven't officially met her yet. The Whispers' role is to keep the timeline the same as it happens in the original, and having them here during the game's intro reinforces that they've been following Aerith her whole life, making sure she does everything according to the timeline. It's not like this tease means anything until you know what they are. Like, my favorite thing in any media is after a twist is revealed and you think back to previous moments and you're like, oh, this twist has always been there. They were practically yelling it at me this whole time. Anyways, this intro just does a fantastic job of setting everything up. You get the perfect amount of info on each character while keeping up the action. Even though I don't like that they show Shinra doing a terrorism, it does show how evil they are, and I guess it succeeds in that manner. But there's still one more aspect of this intro I want to talk about. How it uses the music. Final Fantasy is known for its soundtracks, and how 7 Remake composes and uses it is fantastic. The main reason why the intro song is so threatening at points is because it uses lyrics from One Winged Angel. Although, I think they might be different. The wiki doesn't acknowledge any differences, and I don't speak Latin. It drops the lyrics at the perfect parts too, like when the Reactor goes off and the Whispers scare Aerith. Even if you haven't played the original, you've probably heard One Winged Angel before, so its use of the lyrics tells you that these things are bad. From there, the intro song smoothly transitions into the bombing mission theme. Throughout the terrorism, the song will slow down during dialogue and pick back up before giving you control.
So what's Soldier Boy's deal?
It drops the music in quieter parts. The best use of it is before we get the first version of Let the Battle Begin.
Who's there? Door! Oh, wait! It's over!
That's my line.
He's alone!
This is also a good fight to use it on, because this is the first time the player should really feel comfortable fighting as Cloud, and the game continues this momentum with the music throughout the whole opening. It's always keeping pace with what's happening on screen, and never once does it feel out of place. You get closer to the reactor and it feels heavier. Sephiroth trolls Cloud, his theme pops back up again. Once again, the Scorpion Sentinel's boss theme evolves with the fight. When the reactor is falling apart, we get remixes of the songs we've been listening to throughout the whole mission, except now they match the pace of everything exploding. And no matter what point the player is in the song, it will perfectly transition to the ending bit that plays during the CG cutscene, which is exactly what a soundtrack should do. I wish I could go into more detail on the music theory side of it, but I literally don't know how to. I'm sorry that I went to school for writing and not music. It's kind of crazy looking at the original structure as someone who's only played the remake. It feels like a speed run compared to this. It's like half the length. But going deeper into the characters like it does, I can't imagine this section being shorter. I can't speak to how the remake translates everything, but looking at a mod that gives it a fixed camera angle, yeah, I think they might have done a good job. Man, this opening is so good. From the combat and how it teaches you how to play it, the story and how it gives everything to you without breaking pace, and that music, man. Just play this opening if you haven't. It needs to be experienced. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Dislike the video if this game makes you want to commit environmental terrorism, and subscribe for more bad content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.